It's your news when you want it. Coming up tonight on Bounce News at 7, remember those 2 Florida boys that were abducted in Central Florida? Well, they've been spotted in Cuba. See what the next steps are for bringing them home. And a series of random stabbings injured 14 people and put a college campus into lockdown. We'll take a look at how this squares with the gun debate. And unexpected high winds were in full gear in California. Find out what causes those winds and how you can protect yourself and your property. Bounce News at 7 starts right now.
You're watching Bounce TV News at 7.
Unfortunately, those parents and those poor children, those innocent ones, will now be in a country where there are no laws, there is no redress, and where it has been a refuge for fugitives and for wanted criminals for many years.
Now, the search for 2 kidnapped boys from Florida has turned to Cuba tonight. I'm Rahman Johnson. You're watching Bounce News at 7. Thanks so much for being with us. Now, authorities say 2-year-old Chase Haken and 4-year-old Cole Haken have arrived on the island nation. Patrick Oppman has the latest from Havana.
U.S. law enforcement authorities say the Haken family may have come by boat to Cuba. U.S. State Department officials say they've asked the Cuban government for help in the case. But if you talk to Cuban officials, so far they're saying they haven't received any such request, and they aren't confirming whether or not the Haken family is in fact in Cuban custody. This kind of diplomatic dysfunction is very typical with the U.S.-Cuba relationship. For years now, the Cuban government has simply refused U.S. requests to extradite dozens of American fugitives living in Havana. It's not clear, though, if they would extradite someone like the Hakens, who are accused not of political crimes, but of something more along the common lines of fleeing with their children, more of a domestic-type case. But as of right now, the Cuban government is remaining very, very tight-lipped. This is simply one place where the American legal system has no sway. While there is an American diplomatic mission in Havana, there are no formal U.S.-Cuban diplomatic relations. So the Haken family may be taking advantage, if they are in Cuba, of this delicate relationship and may be exploiting the fact that, at least for U.S. authorities, they really have no way to force the Cuban government to send this family back to the United States. Patrick Oppman reporting from Havana, Cuba.
Now, of course, this is a developing story, so we're learning more and more as the story evolves. And what we've understood now is that the Cuban government has released a statement where they're saying that they will cooperate with the United States government. Again, the Hakens have been found in Cuba. They got a boat that was rented, or that the father bought a boat, took it over to Cuba. And supposedly they have been spotted. I know CNN did, the CNN reporter was actually the first one to see them in Cuba, and that happened hours ago. But now, from what we understand, the Cuban government will be cooperating with bringing them back home. Now, on the line with us, we have Kwame Thompson, our resident legal eagle, and he's on Skype right now. Kwame, how are you?
Good evening. I'm fine, Rahman.
Let's delve right into it. International law. I know that this case, it gets really, really interesting. How does international law work here? Does Cuba have to give the kid back, since legally, even though biologically those are his parents, but legally he is supposed to be in custody of his grandparents in Central Florida?
Yes, absolutely, Rahman. When the 2 young men, or young boys, were taken from their grandparents, it was a kidnapping under U.S. law. However, when the parents fled overseas to Cuba, now the laws that are governing these 2 children are actually the Cuban laws. And Cuba has no extradition treaty with America. And also, more importantly, Cuba has not signed on to the Hague Convention for child abduction. And I want to add that there are over 1,200 Hague Convention child abductions from America each year, which the FBI investigates.
But Kwame, doesn't this go a little bit above and beyond that, doesn't it? I mean, I think that it's not really an extradition case, because they're kids. So wouldn't it have to do with some kind of other international treaty?
Well, the extradition would have to come into play with the father, who has been charged and who is wanted on several guns and weapons and drug charges. However, with the children, as I said, more importantly, Cuba has not signed on to the Hague Convention for child abduction.
Okay, all right. We will be following this case. Again, those two boys, Cole and Chase Haken, were found in Cuba along with their father and mother, and we are still waiting results now to see exactly what the government's going to do. Kwame, thanks so much for joining us. Now, right now, thank you. At least